Okay, guys, so let's start just on time. Thank you for joining our marathon. My name is Julia. I'll be, moderating this session for today. Thank you for registering our marathon during next 5 days, 6 including this one. We'll meet with you the same time each date, and you'll be seeing and watching different webinars on a lot of topics. Today we have Agile one. The final one will be dedicated to digital twins. So I assume that this week will be really, really interesting for you. Well, I'm really hope that it will be so. We prepared a small challenge for people who could attend all sessions. At the end of each presentation, our speakers put a special keyword. Every person who collects all these keywords and create a sentence out of it will receive a very nice gift from Laxeft, which is our branded t-shirt. I know that we are famous. Our branded t-shirts are very famous in a lot of locations because we prepare very, very cool designs. So be very patient, attend all of the sessions and collect the sentence. You'll definitely receive this, this cool t-shirt. So the session will be for not more than 1 hour. This presentation will take like 30 minutes, something like that, and then we'll have time for questions. Please send your question to the Q&A section. I see that some people already tried this functionality and it definitely works. Mihai will check all your questions and answer, well, the most interesting of them in the end of this presentation. So just feel free to send them there. And that's probably it from my side. And now I'm passing the word to our today's speaker, Mihai. Mihai has more than 10 years experience in IT. He took a lot of different roles in his career, starting from C embedded developer, if I'm not mistaken, right? And like a few days, not days, I'm sorry, a few years ago, he took the challenge of being a Scrum Master. And today he'll share his experience and the topic he's really passionate about, which is Agile. So Mihai, please, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Julia, and welcome to everyone. I'm really glad to see you all joining and registering this webinar. Hope will be interesting for you. We'll discuss today about software maintenance, and more precisely software maintenance in agile environments. Also, my presentation takes into account that you knows the basic of agile, at least the ceremonies or the artifacts, and I will use some of let's say keywords in my presentation to explain some of the concepts that apply in software maintenance. So if you have questions, we can discuss in the Q&A section. Okay, so let's jump in. Let's hope my presentation works. It works, great. So my plan is to discuss first about what software maintenance is, and to find together the answer to the question if it's only about bug fixing or it's more than that. Hopefully we'll find more behind this. My next topic will be why Agile. Why Agile in general, it's a buzzword that it's widespread in the industry today, and I will try to explain how this applies to software maintenance. After that, we'll highlight the most frequent issues that appear in a software maintenance project, and also, of course, some principles, some solutions to address these problems, together with a set of metrics in order to measure the success of the implementations. Hopefully, you will take some of this principle to your maintenance projects. We'll close the presentation with a series of best practices and lesson learned, and of course with the Q&A section. Maintenance, because it's today's topic, buzzword. Maintenance, I'm sure that when you hear about software maintenance, you are thinking either to IT tickets or incidents or to bug fixing in software projects. It's more than that. So if you check the literature, you'll find that maintenance, it's split at least in 4 parts. In adaptive maintenance, responding to changes in the customer software environments. Perfective, responding to new user requirements. Corrective, fixing errors, and also preventive, preventing foreseeable projects in the future. Like compliance, regulatory modifications that you need to take into account. So if we check the statistics, more than 75% of software maintenance is about adaptive and perfective, not corrective. It's not only bug fixing. So have this in mind when you look at your maintenance project, because it's more close to software development than you can imagine. If you like to find more on this subject, I can recommend you the paper below. It's very nice paper from Denmark University that treats this topic. Why Agile? Agile is a philosophy. So under Agile umbrella, you can find different practices like Scrum, like Kanban, like Stream Programming, and others for sure. Why this applies to maintenance is mostly due to the ideas that are well known in Agile. So I try to answer both for the complexity point of view, but also to the benefits of it. Let's start with the benefits. So happy stakeholders, because you have an iterative, adaptive environment. Right? You have sprints, you have plannings, you have the review meetings where the stakeholders are joining and they are continuously involved. They're providing feedback and bringing value to your project. And also, it's very important, hopefully, end of every sprint, you have a potential shippable product, a valuable potential shippable product that can be released. So this is the first benefit. Productive teams. We are discussing about self-organized cross-functional teams that can run independently. They know where to look, they know who to ask in order to get the job done. Time to market also, it's famous in applying Agile, and also it's one of the misrepresented concepts, because time to market doesn't mean that we are going faster to market, reducing the quality aspect. No, so it's not about speed, it's about quality and bringing more value to your releases. But nevertheless, this translates into a shorter time to market, responding faster to customer needs. And as I already specified, quality assurance. So now in Agile, checking your products quality, it's a continuous activity. It's not a phase as it was in the past in a waterfall environment. Everything there, from specification to development to integration, system test, and end of the project, everyone was doing verification. Now this has to be done continuously. And last but not least, motivated teams. We need to have the right people working on the project. We need to offer to our teams the correct context and customer environment context use cases in order to make the work well understood and also have the achievement feeling every sprint. This is one part of the answer. The other part of the answer, I found it using the Stacy matrix. I recommend you checking this this tool because can provide you a good answer about how Agile Agile Scrum or other techniques can be used, depend on the complexity of your task, of your project. I'll just highlight where Agile comes into the equation here. We are discussing about the complexity, the complex area. Either from certainty, from technology complex, but also from requirements or agreement between stakeholders point of view. So starting from the complex point area, we move to more chaotic and yeah, let's say to more empiric areas where Agile works. I see that some of you are raising your hand, so you have to be patient until end of this session. I'll try to answer most of your questions. Please write your comments in the Q&A section. Thank you for that. Okay, so moving on. Most frequent problems in software Agile maintenance project are referring to three big categories. One is time, with slow reaction to new issues, lack of equipment, emergencies that pop up every time. Yeah, they are just around the corner. No clear start, no clear end to your software maintenance releases. I'm quite sure that you are facing that. And the next category refers to redundant tools and documents. I'm sure that you don't have a single tool where you store your issues or you document information. So redundancy can create a lot of waste. The third big category is regarding testing and also the testing mindset is very important, because sometimes the testing mindset in maintenance, it's a little bit different than the testing mindset in software development project, because you need to be more focused to the customers, more focused on certain topologies or environments. So usually they are not optimized tests for maintenance, redundancies in validation testing. Unplanned issues are increasing a lot of test effort. And in the end, test strategy versus testing plan, that needs to be discussed while doing software maintenance. Okay, having this said, and a lot of problems to be addressed, my plan is to offer you 5 principles that you have to have in mind while working in a software maintenance project under Agile constraints, let's say. The first one, customers define our success. So maintenance needs to be part of the strategy of each product. Don't think that maintenance is something that has to be left out. Just think about the product life cycle. Maintenance should be, you don't release a software product and after that you forget about that. No, this has an entire life in the market. It's introduced to the customer, has its growth, has its part of waiting and maturity in the customer's field, and after that it goes down. So maintenance is part of each of these stages in the product life cycle, and also needs to be in the responsibility of all the teams. If you have the scenario when you have more development teams that are writing new software, and you have a dedicated maintenance team that handles all the time the customer issues, this is something that you have to be careful at, because usually what happens, the development teams have in mind, we have a separate maintenance team, they will take care about the issues. We are just writing code. No, it's not true. We have to be responsible about the software that we are writing, and this has to be in your mindset. Also, if you are fixing severe issues and you have more than one releases that you are maintaining, it's good to be careful to port this bug fixes also to the previous major releases, in order to assure efficiency and quality end of the day. The next principle is regarding time. Time on evaluation and fast feedback is very important in software maintenance projects, because a lot of parties are waiting for an answer. The customer, L2 support, if you have this, implement L3 support, and of course R&D teams, L4 support. That is the reason that my suggestion is to have a timely evaluation of the incoming issues, try to provide fast feedback about the fixed decision, and also the date when you are planning to release that fix. And also my recommendation is to try to have your maintenance releases as smaller as possible and more frequent. This way you have more efficiency, you can answer to the right customers in the right, in the expected interval of time. The third principle, it's regarding continuous integration. So I just mentioned continuous integration. I didn't say continuous integration and continuous deployment. DevOps, if you have this implemented, it's perfect. But let's start with the basics. So continuous integration is a key factor for success of the software maintenance, because you need to act fast. You need to have trust in your test automation setups and your regression runs. If you have a project that implies a lot of manual work, this will not fly in Agile, because the expectations from the management and stakeholder is that you are doing Agile, you're doing fast. But as I mentioned earlier, fast doesn't mean that you have to reduce quality. No, not at all. Yeah, I highlight again, be careful, smaller, frequent releases with good quality and quality that improves all the time. Moving to the fourth principle, keep your release branches in a state that allows us to release a new maintenance version at any moment. I'm sure most of you are using Git for code versioning or other systems. In the literature, and also if you search the web, you'll find a lot of branching strategy that can allow you to implement this kind of principle. What I like to say about this, just imagine, I will provide you an example. You have a critical issue that enters the door right now, and you have a branch that has a lot of things unfinished on it. You don't have strict rules about commit or peer review on your release branch, and the management or stakeholders say, guys, I need the solution SAP. Let's say that you can offer the solution, but if in the end you need to clean up the release branch in order to be able to release, that also is translating in waste, and yeah, this is extra work. So try to implement these rules in order to have release branches in a good shape. The last principle for you today, it's about the scope and the complexity of the maintenance releases. Try to have it as small as possible in order to have that flexibility that I was telling you about. The scope of maintenance release is defined by value and value added to it. And it's important to have more pieces like a puzzle that you can move around the map as you like, than to have so many pieces that you need to distribute in a big area. And also, this approach minimizes the risk and side effects that can intervene. Okay. Having this principle said, I think it's also worth mentioning a series of metrics in order to measure their success and implementation. My proposal is to present you 6 of them. You can take all of them if you like in your project, or at least some of them. So let's start going one by one. The first one is about continuous integration, automation coverage, and test automation depth. So the first two are referring to quality and test automation. The first one gives you the horizontal approach, and the second one the vertical. Just think about the number of tests of automatic tests that you have, and also how deep these tests are and what is the granularity of that. Having this monitored will give you a good idea where you are and if you need to do some extra manual tests or not. The next two metrics, customer issues, reaction time and lead time, will give you some indication about how the maintenance teams reacts to incoming issues and how much time this issues are taking. So the reaction time means the average time between the customer issue is created and someone touched it and put a target milestone in it, assigning to a particularly maintenance release. And the next one is about lead time. Lead time, it's the average time between the issue creation and the issue is it's put to done. The last two metrics are, personally, I'd like to say that these are more referring to the planning quality, or can give the team and the Scrum Master, product owners, and stakeholders that are involved in the maintenance project some ideas about if the planning it's correctly performed, and if the teams are doing the correct grooming or refinement to the issue. So let's take the first one, schedule performance index, or you can find it also in the literature. Some experts call it sprint performance index. It's the number of user stories, issues that you have done every sprint, reported to the total number of user stories or issues that the team committed to during the sprint planning. This is interesting. I also have an example about it. I will show you in my next slide. And the customer issue cycle time. Cycle time, personally for me, it's a metric that allows you to incorporate more. You can find different pieces of information inside. So this is the average time between the customer issue was set in work in progress and was put to done. Okay. Now moving to the example that I promised about scheduled performance index. So I try to, for efficiency, to make it quarterly based on 1 year activity. With dark blue, you have the done user stories. With light blue, we have the splitted or unfinished user stories from a sprint. This is cumulative. This is an average per the entire quarter. What is interesting to look at, it's the right line. That is the SPI. Is the average between the done user stories and the total number of user stories that the team committed to. So you see that in my example, it's over 80%. If we check the literature, and I refer here to SAFe framework, one of the most used scaling agile frameworks, they say that reliable trains should operate between 80 and 100%. So this is a good indication that the teams are performing as expected. Of course, can be more than 100%. The sky is the limit, right? Okay, and we are closing. We are moving to the third section of my presentation. A series of best practices that you can implement already in your maintenance project. So my recommendation, that to be concrete, because the initial part was more theory. This is more practical. I recommend you to create a separate backlog if possible for maintenance releases with an associated roadmap for maintaining your maintenance releases strategy, offering transparency to all the parties involved. That will personally believe that can help you be more efficient and structure your information better. Try to prioritize this backlog top to bottom as the theory states, but try to have the priorities in sync with all the other parties involved. Of course, the product owner is the person that has the right to set the priorities, but it's good to know that the product owner is discussing also with L2 support, L1 support, L3 support, or the other parties that are involved in your maintenance project. Also, personally, I believe that describing the client use case when referring to an issue will help the the team's mindset, all the parties involved to have the right understanding, the same understanding on that issue. Also, together with defining some templates, because usually, just take the example when you have L1, L2 support, L3 support, and L4. L4 being the R&D team that it's fixing the issue. Not all this are speaking the same language. That is the reason that it's good to have a series of templates to unify the communication. It will save you a lot of time. Try to have your sprint backlog, the team commitment to select, to finalize the selected issues. Try, based on the metrics that I already mentioned about, and of course, doing the right estimations, just try to have your sprint backlog not more, not less than the actual number of issues that the team is able to solve. This will help predictability, will offer you predictability to your project. Something that also you'll see in the next slide in the lesson learned: monitor technical debt. This is not, I'm sure that is nothing easy to do, but it's very important to monitor it. And also, when I'm discussing about technical debt, I'm referring to the one that it's known and also to the one that it's unknown, like knowledge. Missing knowledge in your team that can be translated in some issues that you can introduce to the releases. So don't be scared to do some refactoring about this. If you have a component that receives continuous patches, issue after issue, maybe it's good to discuss with the product owner why not invest some time to refactor that component and change the design of it, not to have so many patches inside. My next recommendation is about prepare for emergency in your sprint. It's clear that the emergency will pop up inside the sprint, maybe not in the current sprint, but for sure in the next ones. My recommendation is to have a reserve capacity for responding to this kind of emergency, to at least to have a fast reaction on the new customer issues, to assure the communication that I was telling you about. Also, I will present you a logic that I use in my projects that helped me achieving this. Keep the team in a close relation with L3 support, L2 support. It's very important to have the communications face-to-face if possible, if the teams are co-located, and if not, on virtual systems. And last but not least, discuss with your teams the importance of their work. It's important to provide feedback from the customers, to understand what is the value of their work. That's very important in maintenance. Otherwise, it's just something that repeats, it's continually repeating, fixing issues, and no more than that. No, we have to understand the bigger scale, the big picture, how important and valuable the work is. I was telling you about a logic that can help you speed up the feedback on new complex customer issues. I'll just go through quickly. So just imagine that you have new issues popping out. Of course, I imagine that these are assigned to the maintenance team. The maintenance team, we imagine that has a KPI, for example, to respond quickly to this kind of new customer issues and provide some input to the stakeholders. So if the issue is reproducible, that's the easiest path. A target milestone will be set to that issue. The product owner will decide the priority and planning to the next sprints. But what if the issue is not reproducible? What can we do? The easiest question for me was to go on the path, to discuss about L3 support, if they can reproduce the problem. And yeah, of course, they can go along the thread to L2 support. If they can provide some more information, hopefully they can reproduce the problem, the informations are coming in, and we can set the target milestone. If they cannot solve it, my recommendation is to set up a time box investigation. Let's say 2 days. Try to invest some time, do some stress test to that environment. Maybe you are lucky and you can offer more information. Let's say that you're lucky and you have a resolution for that. Of course, we are going to set target milestone, product owner decide the priority and so on. If not, and you're unlucky, of course, these kind of situations can occur. It's important to make this visible. Try to escalate this, mark it as in waiting in your backlog, and discuss with the product owner what to do about that. Okay, and we are closing. We are going fast to the end of my presentation. I promised you a set of lessons learned because we discussed a lot of principles and theory usually is not as you expect when you go to practice. So what happens, let's say, applying the principles, what may appear? Something that happened to me, it's about technical debt. Technical debt that yeah, of course, even if you are aware of it, you might be very easy, like in the drawing. We are too busy to look at it right now. No, we like to fix issues. No time to do some improvements. My recommendation is to slow down and make your technical debt visible, plan it in your sprints, and discuss it with your product owners. The next category is about test automation strategy. It's very important. On paper, it's easy, make this quality #1, but in practice, you have to have the stakeholders' support. It's something that requires changing of mindset, changing of rules, trying to adapt to more dynamic environments. So this is something that you need to put your energy to and monitor continuously. The last category is regarding free support and forced support. As I previously mentioned, it's very good to have some templates, communication templates agreed, but you have to make sure that these are followed and they are showing their benefits. Yeah. Also, it's very nice to have the possibility of some customer on-site visits. It's possible. This in the light of making your team, keeping your team motivated, will help the motivation and also enlarge the team's perspective about what the customer environments really look like. Okay. And this was all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. And now we have time to look at the question and Q&A section. Julia, how should we proceed? I will check right now the questions and.
Yeah, please do, because I already answered some of them, not dedicated to Agile, obviously. Well, the rest is definitely for you.
Okay, great. So I will try to take it one by one. So what about testing during the Agile software maintenance? This is, as I mentioned, it's not a phase, should be something that it's done continuously. My recommendation is to agree on basic tests for releases and to have this strategy agreed with all the parties that are doing that. Hope this will offer a solution. And another point, because we are discussing Agile, you can control the quality of your testing in definition of done. I'm sure that most of you have the definition of done in your project, but don't forget to update it. It's very important to enforce it in order to have more and good quality products. Okay. Do you provide maintenance log with development process? Yes, this is, so I'm just thinking that the question from Vladimir, it's concerning development teams that are doing also maintenance. Yes, it's good. It's happening. My recommendation is not to have split focus. If this is the question that you have, Vladimir, try to make it separately, take it one by one. For example, you have 2 sprints of doing software development, take another sprint for doing maintenance. Try to avoid split focus. Okay. During the maintenance, clients like to include change requests. Can we work on both of them? Yes, this is frequent. This happens very frequently. It's not a success recipe. It depends on the communication between the product owner and the team, how you can include this. If it's an emergency, a change request that pops up during the sprint, is that reserve capacity that I was telling you about. Try to reserve it to have some time during the sprint for this kind of change requests. Let's take another question. In your view of agile development, for example, Scrum, how would you define the time for maintenance sprint? Maintenance sprint, let's click answer live. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of the maintenance sprint. So it's good to have it correlated. So if you have just imagine that you have quarterly releases, a release software release every 3 months, and last 2 weeks of the release we are doing maintenance. This is not the best approach that I have in mind. It's good to make it, try to involve it in your sprints. Of course, I don't want to come back to my first answer without having too much of change of focus in your sprints. Yeah. So my recommendation is to try to add some maintenance work to a sprint, not to interfere with the focus of the team. If you have a sequence of maintenance sprint involving the development is good. Not my fear is not to have it as a phase end of the releases. Hope I answer you. Can you elaborate more on the shippable principle in 4? Yes, I think if I recall correctly, let's go to that. Principle 4 with keeping your releases in a good state in order to ship, to have potential shippable products all the time. Personally, this can be achieved if you have some good review conduct, some good review principles that you apply. Don't commit everything on your branch and review it later. Try to enforce the code review and of course maybe some maintenance, some mandatory reviewers. This way you can achieve this clean release branches that can deliver anytime. Okay, let's take another question. Can you explain technical debt? Yes, technical debt. It's interesting. It's something in summary. It's everything that you leave behind. For example, if you fix an issue and during the testing you find out that some corner cases, minor issues, are not affecting the customer, you leave it out, for example, and yeah, you deliver the critical patch to the customer. But those minor issues are translated in technical debt that might pile up. And if you don't plan this soon in your planning meetings, yeah, it might be translated in dropping your quality. This is one of the technical debt. Technical debt that this is something that is known. It was known from the beginning from the team, and it's something that you will plan it. But also we have the technical debt, for example, regarding knowledge. You don't have high seniority in your team, and you are testing everything that the team said, but due to the lack of seniority in the team, you are missing some scenarios. and this will come back as issues from the customers. And of course, this is also part of technical debt. So just to conclude on it, technical debt is everything that you leave consciously or unconsciously in your releases. Let's take another answer, another question. Any alternative to Agile? Yeah, of course, you can do waterfall, but waterfall means that you have to have a strict plan. You can set up some releases in parallel, but yeah, personally, I believe that Agile maps better on maintenance than a strict roadmap planning. This was an answer for Victor. So yeah, you can apply different techniques if you like, lean or on Kanban, but still also these are Agile practice, are still under the Agile umbrella. It is a good idea to keep one dedicated Scrum team for maintenance, multiple projects. I think serving multiple projects. This can work. You can have that. I have experience of doing that, but I stated out in the first principle. You have to discuss with the other development teams that are doing software development, not to wrongly understand what this maintenance is doing. If you have the maintenance only for customer issues and with a dedicated roadmap, yes, this can work. But don't consider it a team that it's fixing issues for other teams. Another question, do you recommend to implement Scrum framework for maintenance activities? Scrum for 1 to 4 weeks, but issues happen along every day and business want to apply them immediately in this day. What to be done in this case? Yes, I think I already explained some of it. Yeah, I encourage you to apply it. It's important to, I'm sure that the pressure will appear, but if you have the planning meetings done with the team commitment, the roadmap will show that. So it's important to show predictability, to not to answer to any emergency that pops up. If you read the literature about maintenance, doing maintenance in agile environment, you'll see that this is the most frequent problem. So emergencies that are popping up during the sprint are changing the team focus, and yeah, you have so many things started, but usually it's hard to close all of them. So my recommendation is to do good planning, take emergency buffers into your sprint, and see how this will go for you. Okay, I think we have time for some more questions. There wasn't any mention of spikes during a sprint. Yeah, spikes for me were the emergencies that pop up. Of course, this is just part of the answer. It's important, as I mentioned, I repeat myself, you can avoid this if you reserve some capacity in your sprint. Try that approach. If the spikes will appear, try to renegotiate your sprints. Yeah, this is very important. Usually the teams forget about that. The development teams in Agile Scrum has the full support by the framework to discuss directly with the product owners. You can bypass also Scrum Master if you like. If you see that you cannot solve the sprint due to some emergency or spikes, try to renegotiate your sprint during the sprint. This will reduce a little bit the pressure. Try this out and hopefully this will work for you. What is the best approach within a team to start being agile? Very good question. Usually agile doesn't appear in your organization like magic. Someone is asking that. My recommendation is to do some analysis, to get some data, try to compare the current state that you have. My recommendation is you can also do a Kaizen. for example, 5 days Kaizen, where relevant people meet and discuss about the current state, and together they design a new future state that can work for you. So my recommendation is to try to identify your current problems, how Agile can solve them, and if you like the new future state, try to apply them. Okay. How SLA is defined in this case? I don't exactly know which case, but I'll try to answer about SLA. So service legal agreement or key performance indicators that can apply during maintenance. Personally, I think most relevant SLAs are to responding fast to customer issues. You can start with 2 days for fast evaluation of the issues. And if this threshold is good for you, yeah, you can use it. If not, you can tune it all the time. Personally, this is the most relevant SLA that I have in mind while doing maintenance. But also the metrics that I presented you can be translated in some SLAs if you like. Okay, an interesting question. What is the main rules for daily meeting? For quarantine, our meetings last for 2 hours. Is it okay? No. If you have your daily meetings, daily stand-up for 2 hours, you have an issue. You have to discuss about this with your Scrum Master, product owners, because try to be efficient. Scrum, as I'm Agile, it's a philosophy. Scrum, it's a framework. So take it. You are free to apply the rules from it, and try to choose the one that fits you best. The daily in the Scrum guide, it's time box 15 minutes. I can tell you that I had also this at the beginning of my Agile transformation, 30-45 minutes dailies. In the next survey, if you send out some surveys to the teams, for sure, and you ask about the duration of the meetings, a lot of people will complain, because just think about it. You have 8 hours workday, right? And if you stay 2 hours in the daily meeting, you have only 6 hours to work. Try to make it efficient, escalate it to your Scrum Master, and use the Scrum guide to discuss about it. Yeah, maybe something that was not correctly explained. Okay, just take also some, because there are many questions. I try to take also some from the middle. What is the major difference in Agile in between initial development of software and maintenance of software? It's exactly what I was telling you about the product life cycle. So when you're focused only on software development, yeah, you have a lot of features to develop, right? So your goal is to have all the features that you promised the product owner or the management that you solve. That's your main goal. But after that, after the product is released into the field, the customers in the first part, also if you read more about this product lifecycle, the first part is introductory. You'll find you'll get some issues about configuration, some tabs that are not working, some fields that are not correctly updated. After that, with the second wave, you'll have more issues, probably performance stress test issues that will come back to you. After that, probably the product will get more mature, and maybe the number of issues, customer issues, will be on, let's say, a low level. And after that, you have to prepare also to think about new features. As I mentioned, we are not discussing about customer issues, corrective maintenance, also new features that you need to add, or maybe some new regulatories that you need to implement to your software. It's important to have this in mind. So just to answer directly to your question, it's a different mindset while doing maintenance. You are focusing mostly on a customer environment more than generic. When you're doing development software development, you have some use cases, some potential use cases and customers in mind. but when this software product it's released into the field, you have precise customers that you need to answer to, and to adapt your product to them. So it's a different mindset. How would you measure agility of a team? In other words, how to check what level of agility a team has and how many levels can it has? Oh, very, very good question. I'm dealing with that right now. I'm also trying to find the answer how agile my teams are. I can tell you from my research that in the literature you'll find 5 stages: sit, crawl, walk, run, and fly. Fly means that you're perfectly independent, cross-functional, and self-organized teams. So these are, let's say, the consecrated 5 levels of agility. You can browse them, you can find them in the SAFe framework, but not only. And how to measure them, you can start with a survey. You can find it on the web as Agile Pulse Check. Also, SAFe framework recommends you a set of questions that can be asked to your teams. And based on that, you can go further. You can see the results, you can take some actions and see how this will turn out. If the survey will display you some problems, it's very important to go and solve that problems, maybe reiterate with the survey, or you can apply the solution that I already said. You can do a Kanban, 5 days. Kanban means, if it's from Japanese, continuous improvement. Kaizen, sorry, not Kanban, Kaizen. It's important to have the current state and to design with relevant persons the future state. Yeah. So start with an Agile Pulse Check. If this is good, you can continue with the next one. If not, try to have a Kaizen. Okay, hope I answered to Evgeny about that. And I think we have time for another question.
Yeah, let's pick up 2 or 3, because I'm super surprised with the enormous amount of questions we're receiving, and we definitely won't be able to answer all of them. So pick like 2 or 3 the most interesting.
Okay, let's try one regarding monitoring. Burnout charts, do they really work? Yes, Victor, they work. They work, but you have to check them frequently. Burnout charts during the sprint will help you monitor if the work is going as you expected. If you look also at the cycle time, the time spent, the issue was, or the user story was set in progress until it's closed. It's also a good metric. Also, it's interesting for me to look at the release burn-down chart to see how the commitment of the team it's going in the release. Yeah, not only per sprint, but this works. Yeah, personally, I trust them, and to be honest, it's one of the tools that you have in hand to monitor the progress. Usually there stays a lot of confusion with story points and our estimation while planning the sprint. Yes, this is one of the most common questions. Personally, I don't like the time estimations for user stories, because if even if it's a team agreement on them and the entire team says 2 days or 3 days, just think about the fact that one team developer will take that user story, and maybe he didn't or she didn't agreed necessarily to that estimation. Doing by complexity will help you understand better. So my recommendation is to start with t-shirt sizes, small, medium, large, extra large, and maybe after a while, if you are comfortable with that approach, you can transfer to Fibonacci. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and so on. So my recommendation is to go for complexity. How to keep motivation consistent during the sprint? It's a very good question. I'm also trying to find a good answer for that, a success recipe. you have to adapt along the way. You have to discuss in your retrospectives and listen to your teams, answer to their concerns, try to provide them the tools they need, the hardware they need if you are involved with hardware, and also the feedback from the customers if you are doing maintenance, only maintenance. So it's something that you need to discuss in your retrospective meeting every sprint. Try to inspect the motivation of the team, and try to be optimistic and to be enthusiastic, because Agile is not an easy road to go. So brace yourself.
Okay, let's pick the final one, and then I will ask. Yeah, and then I will ask you to share your presentation again, because probably a few people noticed the keyword, so I want more people to write it down.
Yeah, I'm just trying to choose the last one. Okay, so Guy, it's saying me a question, and please share your soft skill in PM. Courage in unknown theme for you. Courage is unknown theme for with time, it's important to keep you motivated. So if you are the scrum of the team, just think about that. If you surrender, what about the team? So it's important to read a lot of techniques, to be in contact with other scrum masters and stakeholders to understand the organization, and try also to go back to helping your teams. This is very important. And remember, the scrum master has to stay the last on the boat. Okay, hope I answered Guy with that question.
Thank you. Could you please share your screen again, and I'll
yes.
explain the idea with keywords one more time so everybody could catch it. Guys, we asked our speakers to put special keywords. They are different in all presentations. To the last slide. Here we have the number. This is the keyword for this presentation. Please, when I said write it down, I mean not write it here, but on a piece of paper, for example, anywhere where you can keep it for the end of the marathon. And after all 6 presentations, we'll ask you to create a sentence out of all this, with all these words, and you'll send this sentence to us, and we'll provide you with a t-shirt. So this is the idea. We definitely, what number 6 means? It means just number. So this is the first word. Yeah, yeah. This is the first word of the sentence. So please remember it, write it down. This is the keyword for today's session. I'm sorry that we didn't answer all the questions, because it was like an enormous amount of them coming to the Q&A section. Mihai answered 33, and 21 is still there. Unfortunately, we have no time for them today, but we definitely should have more webinars about Agile, because the response is just crazy. Thank you guys so much for attending, and don't miss the webinar tomorrow. You can see the topic on your screens. Yeah. You'll receive, yeah.
Also, I will join. So I would like to join. Guillermo,
I will send you the link.
Thank you, Julia.
Yeah. You will receive the link for the next webinar an hour before, as it was today. But if you, well, somehow don't notice it, you can open the first email, and there are all links to all webinars. And now please take a small survey for us to collect some very small feedback from your side. How did you like the presentation? Did you like the format? Please just it will take 20 seconds of your time, but it will be very valuable and helpful for us in terms of future events. Probably for today, that's all from my side. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you for your questions again, because this is well, I've made a lot of, I've hosted a lot of webinars, internal and external one, and this is the biggest amount of, you know, really meaningful questions that we received during the session. This is very, very cool. And yeah, thank you guys so much for that. You're a really great audience.
Thank you too to all of you, and scrum on.
Okay, so I'll wait a couple of minutes more till everybody vote. We have 72 people out of 100 who voted. Guys, please do that. It's very important for us. Yeah, I'll send the presentation, Mihai, if you don't mind, we'll send it to all who participated in today's session. You'll receive it to the email that you via this email you registered. We'll send it tomorrow, and the recorded version we won't send it via email because they're a keyword. We will prevent cheating. Yeah, but still we'll definitely have it after after the marathon in our YouTube channel. So you can find it even now. This is YouTube. This is Luxoft Corporate. So you can easily find it on YouTube and subscribe, and maybe find there some really interesting videos for you. We have Tech Talks, which is video podcasts about a lot of different topics like this marathon. So I believe this is all from my side. We are 2 minutes, took more 2 minutes more of your time. So thank you that you are still here, guys. I wish you great evening, day, or morning, whatever you have now, because we have a lot of people from Mexico, from the US, from Europe and Asia. So have a good one, guys, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye. Thank you, Mihai, for the presentation. Yeah,
My pleasure. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.